Can I find the shooting location of this iconic record album by Bob Dylan, Blonde on Blonde? Hi, I'm New York City musician E. James Smith, and I'm here in Greenwich Village in New York City. Bob Dylan used to live around here, and all of his early album covers were shot right in this area. Does this brick wall still exist? Where was this shot taken? Follow me now on this New York City musical odyssey in search of the shooting location of Blonde on Blonde, and if I can recreate this album cover today. We're back here in Studio 6. As with everything Dylan, it's unclear how Blonde on Blonde got its name. There are theories that the title might refer to Edie Sedgwick from Andy Warhol's 1960s underground scene. Another possibility, a reference to Brian Jones of the Rolling Stones and his girlfriend Anita Pallenberg. Another prevailing hypothesis is that while Bob Dylan was asked what to call the album by his producer Bob Johnston, he free associated several names and arrived at Blonde on Blonde, a nod to a popular music performance that Dylan saw and liked called Brecht on Brecht, which featured famed German playwright Bertolt Brecht's songs. And of course, Blonde on Blonde, B.O.B. Did Bob do this on purpose? I'm sure he'll never tell. The photo was taken by renowned photographer and film director Jerry Schatzberg, who at the time was well known for his portrait photography. He and Bob Dylan had worked together before and were driving on West Street in New York's meatpacking district looking for an inspired shooting location. It was very cold, and they pulled off in front of an old mechanic's garage called Brooks Transportation. Jerry shot about a dozen shots, and the cold took hold. A shivering Schatzberg snapped away for a few minutes, and then they jumped in the car and took off. Even though there were other shots that were clear, Dylan chose the blurry image that has now become one of the most recognized album covers ever. And look at this. It's vertical, decades before the social media smartphone trend. Look inside. Dylan used a photo of Italian actress Claudia Cardinelli without her permission and removed it from the next pressing to avoid legal hassles. There is also a self-portrait of photographer Jerry Schatzberg in the corner. I'm lucky, my mom rushed out and bought this rare mono pressing with the original photos as soon as it came out. Thanks, Mom. So, can I find Brooks Transportation? I went to the New York Public Library's main branch and sifted through the photo archive looking for old photos of West Street. Of course, I also searched online, where I found a great website called popspotnyc.com, created by Bob Egan. Bob describes his site as the exact locations of album cover photos and other visuals of pop history and how a pop culture detective tracks them down. Well, Bob did some incredible detective work along with the help of some fellow sleuths and spent years searching for the location. He and Jerry Schatzberg even met and walked around looking for the location, but they never found it. There's a video of that on YouTube. But in 2016, with the help of Bill Jobson, Bob was able to pin down the location of the building as 375 West Street at the corner of Morton Street. But is Brooks Transportation still there? Now that we know where it is, can I go back and restage this photo? Okay, we're here on the corner of Morton Street and West Street. When Dylan and Schatzberg jumped out of the car to take the photos, the elevated West Side Highway was across the street. You can still see the shadows in the outtakes. A small part of the highway still exists north of 57th Street before turning into the Henry Hudson Parkway. When Dylan and Schatzberg jumped out of the car, they were just below the elevated highway. It was late in the day, and the late afternoon sun was setting over the Hudson River. So here we are. Is Brooks Transportation still here? Let's take a look. Oh no, Brooks Transportation, long gone. It was torn down about a year after the photo was taken, and in its place is this sprawling apartment complex for the entire block. Now, according to Bob Egan's research and photographic evidence, the photo was shot about 60 feet from the corner, which is right about here. But this doesn't look like the cover. So if it's okay with everyone, I'm going to scooch down about 10 feet where we have a brick wall and reshoot it there. It was right here, almost, blonde on blonde. Okay, so my quest to reshoot the iconic Bob Dylan Blonde on Blonde cover was only half successful. Thanks to Bob Egan and Bill Jobson, we were able to come to the exact location where the photograph was shot. But unfortunately, we can't totally recreate it because the building is gone. But the garage that existed on this spot for decades was out of place by the late 1960s, and this area was developed into much needed housing. Now, nearly 60 years later, this complex looks old. Well, that's all for today's adventure. Thank you for joining me, and please join me next time when we go in search of classic album covers here in New York and beyond. Meanwhile, please check out my version of Spanish Harlem Incident, classic Bob Dylan song from Another Side of Bob Dylan. If you like that, you might like the other 12 songs on the album Don't Get Me Wrong, my new album, out now everywhere. See you next time.